I've gone through three structured cuts now, and this most recent one was definitely the smoothest by far. So these are some tips that I wish I knew before I started dieting for the first time. The first thing, we'll talk about nutrition, and the goal is to make the deficit livable, right? It's not a suffering contest, right? Who can just diet the hardest and punish themselves? No, man. Like, you want to be able to do this in a way that's sustainable. Yes, sure, you can crash diet, fucking nuke your calories with no structure, but you'll probably end up rebounding right after that. So, before you even dive into the world of calorie deficits, you need to start building some solid fundamental habits. A fixated amount of meals you eat daily, three, four, five, whatever you choose. You're going to be including more lean protein sources in your diets: chicken, fish, red meat, dairy products, eggs and egg whites, soy products, you name it. Dealer's choice there. You're also going to want to include lots of fruits and vegetables in your diets, foods that have lower energy density. These are going to help keep you full. I mean, sure, you can diet on the high protein convenience foods, make the fucking pancakes, the waffles, the French toast. I've done that, but it kind of just like scratches that itch a little bit, but you're still hungry at the end of the day. So before you even dive into a dedicated calorie deficit, you'll probably find yourself able to lose some weight and get leaner by just training your ass off, eating more fruits and vegetables and lower energy density foods, and like prioritizing your recovery. So, from the nutritional side of things, I would focus on more low energy density foods, lean protein sources, and a fixated amount of meals. Once you start doing this, like you develop, okay, I'm gonna eat 3 meals today with a lean protein source and fruits and vegetables. You'll start making these things, these concoctions, and these will be staples in your diet. I'm obviously playing the B-roll footage here, but like you see what I eat, there's room for flexibility within this structure, but each meal has that same idea: lean protein source, some carbohydrates, usually starchy, like a starchy vegetable, like a sweet potato or a potato. You can eat white rice too. It's just not as satiating and I would say filling as some of the other options that are like it's not as heavy as like fucking quinoa. Actually, I'm not sure if that's true. You guys can fact check me. But yeah, that's where I'm getting at with this. I like to eat 4 meals a day when I'm in my deficit or when I'm eating in general, roughly 4 hours apart. So 8, 12, 4, and 8. I eat like three solid whole food meals, then I have a Ninja Creamy, and I don't even track my calories anymore, but that's a skill we'll get into in a different video. Um, if you're training after work, you can sneak in some pre-workout carbs, but the big thing when it comes to training is you just don't go into your sessions like fucking starving or like completely stuffed. Like don't house a Chipotle burrito and then go try to fucking train, or don't try training after not eating for 5 hours. Like just plan out your day. This is why having that fixed meal structure really allows you to see, okay, each meal is a purpose. That's about as complicated as I would make nutrition for your first calorie deficit. Like fixed amount of meals, lean protein source in each one, fruits and vegetables, and then build some staples that you like and see what happens. Don't even worry about tracking your calories. Now let's move on to the important thing: training structure, baby. Uh, I would also recommend dialing in your training. Learn how to train hard and consistently before, again, you do a dedicated calorie deficit, right? It's just a stressor. That's what it is, a dedicated calorie deficit. So once you have all of these fundamentals in place, it'll be a breeze. Don't start training like a pussy because your calories are lower. Like, give your body that signal to keep the muscle, especially if you're a newer trainee or if you have a fair amount of body fat on you and energy available total. You'll totally be able to recomp. Like, it's shown in the literature, it's totally possible. The more experienced you are as a trainee and the leaner you are as an individual, the less likely that will happen. But, like, dude, are you kidding me? When I did my first cut, I'll put some images on screen right now, like my first dedicated one, which was bodybuilding prep pretty much, I for sure recomped out of the gates. Like that was the first time I had consistently hit my protein goal. This is anecdotal, me talking now. I don't like actually have data to prove this, but like I just looked epic. I was losing weight and I was just getting leaner and bigger. It kind of didn't make sense. But yeah, that's the power of the recomp because I hadn't had effectively trained, like properly trained with intensity, adequate volume, and good technique. So that's how it goes in terms of training intensity. I would keep most of your sets in that 2 reps in reserve to failure range. Probably on the heavier compounds, you can like taper off a little bit, or if you can't go to failure safely. But I like training to failure. personally, just because it kind of standardizes training for me. I hate leaving reps in reserve on certain exercises. I'm not taking every set of RDLs to failure. Different topic for a different video, but we're back to the overall thing. You train hard, okay? Involuntary slowing on your movements for most exercises. And then in terms of volume, things can stay pretty similar. I wouldn't be doing crazy high amounts of volume. A lot of this, again, depends on your training age and what you're trying to get. But I would say somewhere in the realm of like 5 weekly sets per muscle group up to 15 weekly sets per muscle group, depending on your training age. You can do more for sure, but like that's just a very rough ballpark. You could even go lower than that, you could argue, and you could go higher, but that's just my range. For body parts like my legs, like my hamstrings and quads, probably closer to that 5 to 10 range. And then for body parts like my chest and my back, probably closer to that 10 to 15 range. And then it can get a little bit tricky counting indirect volume, right? Like a pull or a row is like half a set towards your biceps, so you can add that up. But the main thing is adequate volume, not crazy high, not insanely low, and that should cover your basis in terms of total training volume. We've talked about nutrition and laying the fundamentals for training. You don't even have to worry about that dedicated calorie deficit or the optimal workouts, but you're learning how to train hard with good execution. You're building solid dietary habits. Finally, um, the overall strategy is just be patient and don't be a dumbass. Like, expect some discomfort in your calorie deficit, right? Hunger for sure, a little bit of lower energy potentially. You're literally eating less fuel, less energy. You're giving your body less energy than it needs to conserve its body weight or maintain its body weight. But don't ignore red flags. Like if your sleep is super fragmented and shit, if your mood is tanking, your love for training is fucking in the shitter, libido's down, hunger's becoming insane, food focus as well. Like these are signs that you're pushing it too hard, whether you're tracking or not. Usually, if your rate of loss also is exceeding like 1% of your body weight per week for multiple weeks on end, there's a chance you're pushing it too hard. That's also subjective, depending on how much weight do you have to lose. Like somebody who's obese or overweight can definitely lose at a faster clip. But like for me, for example, somebody who's like relatively lean, bro, me losing at like 2 pounds a week is just ridiculous. I was doing that at the start of my cut. Anecdotally speaking, here once again, I was losing closer to that 1% number when I was 176. Now I'm 167, and I was feeling some effects of this. Libido was definitely down. I was feeling like my legs were in cement, so I literally shaved off steps and added some calories in the form of dietary fat, and because my fat was probably a little bit low, I wasn't tracking. And I felt way better. Now I've been cruising along, losing closer to that like zero point 0.7 to zero point 0.9 pounds to 1 pound per week. I'm tracking this on Macro Factor, and I feel good. I'm coasting. Training performance was solid throughout it, but that was just like me listening to my subjective markers. Another big thing is having realistic goals. Your first cut doesn't need you to result in being peeled to the bone, shredded like the kid was on show day. It's important to understand like what you actually want out of this process. A lot of people think being leaner is going to solve all of their problems, but a lot of people don't have a lot of muscle to begin with. So getting a little bit leaner, right? Just because it's fun, facial features are more accentuated, muscles are popping a little bit more is always a vibe. But if you don't have any muscle, then spending a ton of time in a energy deprived state is just like not a good idea. Like once you get to a decent level of leanness, which is completely subjective, once again, I would say in the realm of like 12 to 16% body fat, and you don't have substantial muscle yet, just cook there right around your maintenance, right? Building those good habits and training hard. That way when you do your second cut, potentially you are vibing because you have built that base, and then you can actually reveal the hard work. Also, the goal here is to have an exit plan, right? You didn't just um unsustainably lose this weight, since you hopefully followed my first steps and you learned how to train hard and build some solid dietary habits. The only thing that's going to change towards the end of your calorie deficit is that you're just going to eat a little more food. It's not like some complete lifestyle overhaul, right? You're not going back to fucking being a degenerate on the weekends and drinking a shit ton, eating mounds of hyper palatable ultra processed foods. No, like you're keeping that same fixated meal structure, right? You're including a lot of whole grains, fruits and vegetables, healthy fats, lean protein sources, more movement, good sleep, hard training. but you're just eating a little bit more. So that transition should naturally feel so easy. If it feels like a complete lifestyle overhaul, you went about the deficit in a completely wrong way. So, wrapping things up, if this is your first deficit, do not crash diet. Keep your protein relatively high. I would say in the realm of like zero point 0.7 to 1 gram per pound of body weight. Also depends how heavy you are. If you're obese or heavier set, then you don't need that. The conversion would be lean mass, which I can also dive into another video. Expect some discomfort, but it really shouldn't be miserable. And then hopefully you go about things in a sustainable way on the way down. So that transition back to maintenance, even a potential surplus if you're trying to get huge, baby, is pretty smooth. It's not rocket science, guys. It's fairly simple and straightforward, but it can be challenging if you don't have that initial structure in place. This is the method that I used for my previous cut. We'll show a little before and after. Pretty cheeky from the kid. And this is pretty much what I preach with my clients. Like, I actually try to get a lot of them away from rigid macro counting and really just focusing on habit based nutrition and training. I actually like to monitor training progress to a degree, but yeah, the goal is behavior change at the end of the day. So if a calorie deficit for you feels like a dedicated one, complete lifestyle overhaul, you're probably not ready for that yet. And you need to work on those habits, baby. So if you want help setting this up, you can apply for coaching below. Check out my free training and nutrition planning call and subscribe to the kid because the content's going to be coming all summer long, baby. Boom!